morning and thank you for joining us. I'm Alero Edu and this is Sunrise, coming to you a bit late this morning, but we'll tell you about that in a moment once my partner introduces himself.
Amakine, good morning and welcome. Well, seriously, not much I do about that one, trust me.
Don't give up, don't give up. Whatever you do, don't give up.
No, well, giving up is not in the
It's not in the cards
right
at all.
Now.
No.
It's the only thing in the question, for how long do I have to hold on?
Well, that's what has kept you going up till now.
Believe me.
So just keep up the hope. Things will happen. Things are happening. And this Lagos-Ibadan Expressway is beginning to exasperate a lot of Nigerians because it's the only gateway out of Lagos State. And they haven't made it any bigger. They haven't built any other exits out of Lagos. So this is going to keep happening.
It's sad.
It seems. And it's always tankers and trailers.
The sad and painful part of it, Alero, is that, you know, I was a secondary school student in the late 70s, early 80s. And on my own, I used to ply that route. I mean, Lagos to Ibadan, on the average, 30 to 45 minutes. You're done. Then.
I have done toll gate to toll gate in 50 minutes before.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, we knew that this was going to happen. We know the growth rate of our population.
Yeah.
We know that Lagos has perhaps the highest population rate in the country. We know that Lagos-Ibadan Expressway in the whole of the Southwest is a major road artery. We know the importance of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway in the whole of West Africa.
So what don't we know?
I think that's really the problem. I think what we don't know is the problem. Maybe we don't know, or we didn't know that we're supposed to plan ahead. Just maybe we didn't know that. Back then...
we don't have... We haven't had a census in how many years? So we don't know that the population is growing at the rate at which it is.
Well, I'll excuse myself. Because, I mean, it's not strange what the population growth rate is. Successive governments have come up with that. Perhaps the sad part of that is that every census has always been contentious. But that doesn't take away the data that has been collected about the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway over the years. It was 2 lanes, now it's been made into 3 lanes or 4 lanes and what have you. But the fact that we're not able to track the issues is another problem. Perhaps one thing that's been consistent in all of the challenges that we've been having with this major road artery is that tankers and trucks have increased in number, unlike in the past, where the railways worked effectively.
Yeah, true.
But now that the railways are coming up, let's just hope that we can deal with that as well. So is it that we didn't know that the railways were very, very prominent in dealing with that challenge, or what? So maybe there's something, you are older than I am, so maybe there's something you know that I don't.
You spoke about data. If we have the census data, as you mentioned, I'm sure that we could use those figures to extrapolate.
It's the extrapolation that I said, excuse me, from that we, because I mean...
Right, Ayo. So there's a terrible traffic on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, and it has kept everybody from getting to where they're going. Now let's look at the menu.
Well, what do we have? Okay, I'll say ladies first. So
okay,
I'm nice like that.
So we're going to start with Nigeria Security Architecture and Assessment.
And of course, coming right after that one is this one, Lagos City Transport Challenge. Of course, we know all that has come as a result of that over the years.
Yeah, and the biggest news this week since Tuesday, the U.S. elections, the lessons for Nigeria. Can we learn any lessons from this?
The question then will be, will we learn the lessons? Chartered Arbitrators Conference is also on the menu today. We'll be taking a look at that as well.
And as is usual, we shall close with the Guests of the Week segment. Today we have a she. Today, she is a she. So that's the lineup for today. And without wasting any time, we'll just get straight into it since we already started late.
Yeah.
So we're looking at the Nigerian security architecture, and we're going to try and do an assessment of it. Insecurity in the country seems to have escalated over the years despite efforts being made by the government to bring sanity to the country. So on Thursday, the president reiterated that his administration would not allow anybody or any group to threaten the peace of the country or sabotage the government's efforts. Well said, Mr. Presido.
Well, he, of course, you know that he said that when he met traditional rulers in Abuja. He also made another statement along the same line in Ilorin when he was represented by the Minister of Information, saying, look, we know we haven't done, well, if you think we haven't done enough as a government, forgive us. We're trying our best. Meanwhile, in the same vein, the Inspector General of Police, Adamo, has again stressed the need for Nigerians to embrace the community policing strategy, which he says is the best way to combat crime in the country. Well, that is part of the architecture that government is looking at now, that part of the assessment.
Right, so we have Colonel Yomidari, retired, who's a security expert. Good morning, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me on
And
board.
Dr. Oamien Okidivri. Pardon me.
It's Ohidevie.
Ohidevir,
Yeah.
who is also a security expert.
Thank you very much.
And thank
It's a
you very
pleasure.
much.
And we also have Mike Ejiofor, former DSS operative, who is also a security expert. He joins us virtually in this conversation, but well, he will join us in due time. Well, Dr. Ohidievre, forgive me if I messed that up. Well, we have been talking about architecture for like a million years. What does it mean, really? For maybe like a kind of an overview and a refresher to many of us, to many people who may be watching right now. When you talk about architecture, security architecture, what does it mean?
Well, thank you very much. And I appreciate the analysis on the traffic situation. So we should not go there again. Incidentally, both of us are ex-military. I'm sure that we know a better way to get here before you. And we did that.
Oh, you came in helicopters.
You know, unfortunately, Nigerians are very industrious. Okay, so if you give a Nigerian any
Did you say
situation...
unfortunate?
Yes, unfortunately.
Oh.
Now, when you are industrious, you are supposed to become productive. Now, what we find is that we are industrious, but it's unfortunate to us because our industrious capacity is going to negate and is negating consistently our community and ability to live. When you put a Nigerian in a space, he wants to make money from that space. If you put him in the space of power, he wants to make money from that space. And if power runs successfully, it does not make money. We don't serve. We don't have servitude tendencies. So we want to make money. So we dilapidate power to sell generators. So when it comes to security, unfortunately also, we want to secure. But because there is the tendency that people run businesses, they want businesses to run, they want the economy to work, and every other person is industrious in their own capacity. Those in power that can manipulate the opportunities now look at security situations not productive enough. So their industrious capacity comes into play and say, why don't the area boys in Oshodi just start breaking bottles tomorrow morning? So that we can have a committee to look at the whole thing. Who can we talk to? These boys in Benue, the Tiv and the Jukun people, how long have they fought? This Ijo,
I'm trying to...
I'll get you somewhere.
No, I'm trying to imagine how that's even possible, that some people will sit down to create trouble?
Nigerians can look at the world. If you get Nigerians into the medical system in the world, because the medical system in the world can become productive if you put your ingenuity positively. They put it positively and it gets productive. And you hear one Nigerian has made name somewhere in Russia, in Britain. Yeah. But in Nigeria, if you put your ingenuity positively, you make nothing. You get a bad name, somebody goes to your primary school and rejects something and they say your name is not what's on your primary school result. Somebody goes to reject something in your family history and you are giving a bad name and you are defending that all the time.
Forgive me, how does that play on the architecture? Because I believe that
that's
the
what I'm going
security
to.
architecture is not with the people,
Yeah.
it's with government, right?
Yeah. Now, in the Western world, their insecurity situations made them to start looking for security solutions. In Africa and down to West Africa and Nigeria, our insecurity situations made us start looking for security solutions. You will be shocked that the community policing you are looking for already exists. Let us go back to history. You remember when someone steals a tuber of yam from a barn? There is a local system in place that he is sent away from that village. And the next village will not take him, so he stays in a bush somewhere. And they give it a name. Coming down to modernized society, if you steal and you are caught in your street, in your village, nobody marries from your family anymore. No, you have to clear that name. Nobody gives you appointment anymore. You are from what family? They say the family you came from. Nah. They are like this. So we had this system in place that abhors criminality, that resists any kind of corrupt setting. So we had a structure in place
Until
we started to dilapidate it, to enhance our opportunity to control. In the whole world now, if you need to control anything, you need to put in a new law or something through the UN, through the international human rights, through the travel restrictions and all that, then Nigerians obey themselves. So because of that, we within our space dilapidated the judiciary, sir. We attacked the media until the media right now can only display what is permissible to a large extent. If you cross some lines, have you heard the recent blockade on some media because of NSAS? That one is being defended right now. So because of all of this, we had an architecture, if that is the name, because we started to go after words. Remember the time we were talking about the military and all we started to look for crocodile smile, we started to look for animals that we dance. You don't need all of that. Why? Because you have a system that works. Look for the people that dilapidate the system. Then you will identify where the problem is.
Doc, can you just hold that thought?
As an opening.
Yes. We'll just take a short break, come back, and really get into this discussion. Thank you for staying with us. We're still looking at the security architecture, and we're trying to assess it and possibly look for how to improve on it so that we can all sleep easy. So, Colonel, the same question that Ayo asked him, I'm going to put to you. What is this architecture that people talk, security architecture? Let's hear your definition of it.
Well, thank you very much, Alero, and it's always delightful to be here. Thank you. For me, security architecture is how you manage the security hierarchy of a society.
Okay.
And this has to do with all the security agencies, both formal and informal.
Can you just put a comma there or a semicolon? Which ones are the informal ones?
Well, the informal ones are maybe you want to look at private security.
Okay.
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 And then when you talk about the formal ones,
The
you are looking
police,
at the
the
police, the
army,
army, and
Navy, and so on.
And so on.
But the challenge here that I have seen, because I try to look at, when we talk about this whole security architecture thing, which agencies are involved? Many people see the police and know the police, know the army. Which other agencies are there?
You have the National Intelligence Agency. Okay. You have the Office of the National Security Advisor, which more or less coordinates the entire gamut of the security architecture.
SSS?
SSS,
Customs?
they're part of it.
NSCDC.
NSCDC, National Security and Civil Defense.
Yeah.
And then, of course, lately you have the Federal Road Safety Corps being part of it too. And then, of course, we can add the Amotekuns
And such.
and such other bodies. So they also come under informal.
Okay.
Yes.
Can we then assume that maybe a number of these agencies, these other agencies that you mentioned, they are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, or they're not doing their jobs? Because we hear a lot more about the police and the army than any of these other agencies when we talk about security.
Well, one thing I want to put on table here is that when we are even talking about security, for crying out loud, security is everybody's business. Everybody's business. Right from that man on the street there who sees another person trying to pick somebody else's purse and he looks away. Is he performing his duty, even as a citizen? The best thing to do is to draw attention to that. And of course, if possible, ensure that that person is arrested.
This is where you seem to tie in with what Dr. Hidri was saying the other time, that it starts with the community.
Yeah.
But then the formal, if we can use Colonel Darius' words, that the formal agencies themselves, many people would assume probably that they're not pulling their weight enough, like the NCDC, the NIA, the DSS, because if they were pulling their weight, information is everything. I think when we have talked about data here, intelligence, I understand, is about data. So if the data is there, why then are these agencies not doing that?
Ayo, if you allow me to land before you go back to my brother, my dear friend across. You see, like I was saying, security is everybody's business. And then you have just noted here that, let me take your words, that the formal, that the known security organs or agencies are probably not pulling their weight. You said that, right?
Well, that's what anyone would assume if we only mention the police and the army and others are not mentioned at all, rarely ever mentioned.
Yeah, let me quickly say something here. You see, there's need for, because what we see playing out right now is proliferation. And sometimes, conflict of interests. And probably there's no clear-cut dichotomy between these organs. And then sometimes again, unnecessary, unhealthy rivalry. You find unhealthy rivalry, okay, amongst these, especially the formal organs, the formal agencies. So all these ones are not necessary, because I want to look at a situation whereby everybody is working towards the same objective.
Same goal.
So towards the same goal.
Yeah.
So let's be focused.
Okay.
All
right, Mr. Jaffa, good morning and thank you for joining us. Now, there have been there's been plenty of talk about rejigging the security architecture. Can you just tell us what things would be involved in this rejigging? What would we be talking about if we were to rejig our security architecture? Mr. Jeffo, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Okay. I'm saying that in our normal parlance now, we talk of restructuring. Rejigging the security architecture just simply means restructuring it to be effective. Like we have our security as it is now. I've always looked at it as not being very effective because it's too centralized for control. We look at the issue of the Nigerian police, for instance, that is controlled centrally from Abuja. You look at the Nigerian army. We need to, especially the police that is the statutory organ charged with maintenance of internal security. It's supposed to be close to the people, but they're too distant from the people. You can see what happened in this NSAS, that there was a lack of effective control. So we need to decentralize, if you will, to make it effective. So you rejig it. In fact, as we have the problems of security now, we'll talk about the leadership of the various security agencies. We also need to rejig, bring in some fresh idea, bring in some fresh blood to make them more effective.
Oh dear. We're having problems with that.
Something.
But with that connection.
Yeah. Doctor, so this is where we are now, and we've been talking about this for like forever. I think it was 2018 or 2019, the government came up with another document about the security architecture of Nigeria. They said we wanted it to be more citizen-centric than government or regime or administration-centric. That's since came on board. I think it was 2018 or 2019, I'm not sure right now. From where you stand as a citizen and as a security operative, did you even see that kickoff?
Well, I'm happy we are seeing the opening that I did earlier. You have heard from this organ now. You see, from the time of constabulary, where the police rides his bicycle around the community, the security is community sensitive and centered. Because we always have a DPO. We have PCROC, Police Community Relationship. Some people, you see the emblem in their car. They have meetings in some area commands on how to help to the vehicle and all that. You know, what is the problem? One, people cannot drive their vehicles and obey traffic rules. So you need someone to implement it. Two, people cannot do businesses together without getting some corruption and everything. So you need a police officer to take them to courts. Three, people started cyber crime. So you need a cyber agency. People started financial crime. So you needed a financial agency like EFCC and all that. So as the dynamics of crime increases, as the dynamics of crimes thickens, you align agency responsibility not to create an agency. You align agency responsibility to meet those demands. So if you say there is a financial crime ongoing, and we have financial crime department in the police, creating the EFCC was somebody's agenda, was somebody's idea. So every politician that comes, that is where they got the word rejig. The rejig you are hearing is not to put the security at the people's advantage. Anytime you hear rejig security, is to rejig security to fit a current and incumbent government to achieve their desires And one of their desire is to intimidate opponents, whether it's APC, PDP, anybody. Over these 30 years I've been studying it. It's to intimidate the other party, one. To put the people at beggarly positions. So because of that, you are looking for re-elections, you are looking to dominate the economic space, and you are looking to control the judiciary. So what are we rejigging? If we put police officers to control traffic, sir, and the population starts to explode, like you have identified, why not increase the number of police officers? To monitor traffic police officers. We used to like them. Sometimes you see them at some junctions, they are dancing, and people like them, people obey them. Have one on this Abuja-Ibadan Expressway and all of these places, and make them work 24 hours and pay them. So, if we need more police officers to manage a community that is growing, increase the number of policemen deployed to that DPO, that area command, increase their logistics. Then if you say there are so much cyber crime there and all that, get policemen to be trained for cyber attacks and all of that cyber crime activities.
We can't afford
Empower them.
We can't afford to increase their numbers.
Aha! So if you don't increase their numbers and you increase the numbers of the people in Senate, you increase the number of the people in legislation, you increase the number of their workforce, one of them having 2-3 secretaries, and you increase the number of policemen that are protecting a senator and a legislator, their wives, their children. And you can't afford to increase the number of policemen in a DPO's office, in an area command, on the road, and attacking incidences that concerns the people. So what are you rejigging, sir?
Ouch. Ouch. Mr. Jeffo, I believe we have you back with us now. Yes, you were saying something, but I would also like you to look at the issue of this call that we have had for some time now for the sacking of those who head some of our security agencies.
Yeah, without sounding like a broken record, the Senate, the governors, all interest groups, civil society organizations have called for the sack of the service chiefs. My mind and the mind of most Nigerians, that they have overstayed and we need fresh ideas. You can't continue to do something the same way, expecting the same result. It's only a madman that can continue that same way. They have tried their best. I think we should, as a matter of urgency, Mr. President should look at the issue, especially the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, the regular forces, that we need to, because of the peculiar nature of what we have on ground, especially the insurgency in the Northeast, and this kidnapping and or what have you. We, apart from having overstayed, there is need to re-equip the military by building its capacity and capabilities to ensure that they meet emerging threats and demands. Look at what happened, the issue of the kidnap of the American, you know, and the collaboration with Nigeria, because there is this collaboration between all the international bodies and agencies in terms of global threat and war. There was effectiveness because they have the equipment. So we need to collaborate more in terms of fighting this crime. We can't continue to do the same thing the same way and expect a different result. It's not possible.
Well, one thing that also becomes interesting in this matter, well, you both are also ex-military, so you will probably be towing the same line, so I'm not going to be asking you the same question. But there is one that is also very, very prominent, and that is the issue of the police, which Dr. Hidure, has mentioned. In the wake of as a result of the aftermath of the NSAS protests, has come up the issue of SWAT training. The first question that came to my mind when I saw the videos of the SWAT being trained was, my mind just went straight to their welfare. How are they? We can see them training, doing all those gymnastics and all, but how are they being taken care of? behind the scene, when the camera is not there, how do they sleep? How do they feed? How far-reaching, maybe my concern is not genuine, Colonel Dari, how far-reaching is their welfare on their performance as security officers?
Well, thank you very much, Ayo. I think that is a very, very germane issue that you have raised here. You see, when you pay peanuts, what do you expect to get? Monkeys. Monkeys. There is need for, first, like I was going to, fully express or analyze what I started earlier. Because the point I was just trying to make here is that we need to empower our institutions, and such that they can perform optimally. They need to be independent. Because the bane of our society, I must tell you, is corruption. Corruption.
When you say, institutions being independent, which one specifically are you talking about in the context of security?
Well, I'm talking about, because here we're discussing security, like the police force. My friend, Mike Ejiofor, did mention something. Centralization. We need to decentralize. We need to decentralize. And I've said this thing in this forum and times without number. So the fear, people will say, oh, by the time you create state police, community policing, the governors will hijack them. And I say, for crying out loud, let them hijack them. The people are watching. The people are watching. You see, if there's a lesson that Nigerians should take from this recently concluded NSAS movement.
Has it been concluded?
Well, one important lesson is that it cannot be business as usual again. It cannot be. We are getting to a situation whereby leadership will be put into account. We must account for our stewardship.
We finally got there.
Yes. Yes. It's still
So all
working.
those billions of dollars being siphoned away,
Yes.
the spotlight will soon be on them, right?
So be it. Good for us. Good for you. Good for me.
Yes.
So what are we saying here? Let's not deviate from your point that welfare. I saw the video of the SWOT training. First, I do not subscribe to that. I mean, I do not see any reason why we have to put that on national television, and as if you are training military in combat.
Or perhaps a way of showing.
Because now we are talking about community citizen-centric security.
Maybe that video or showing it like that was.
Yeah, I hope you saw that video.
Yeah, of course. That's what gave me the concern. Maybe it was government's attempt at saying, you know what, let's just let you know that we're doing something.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what.
Yeah, but this is a special squad.
Yes.
So their terms of reference are going to be quite different from the terms of reference of ordinary policemen. They will not be deployed when there's one little armed robbery somewhere. They'll be deployed for big issues. So I would tend to think that training is important because they're not going to be sent after small fish and small fry.
Well, I'm not saying that the training is not important, but what I'm saying here is
You're
that
saying it's too rigorous.
No. I never said that.
Oh, okay.
No. I never said that.
Well, you said they were being trained like combatants.
Well, yes. And of course, putting it, on the television.
So the problem you have is putting it out for people
Putting
to
it
see.
out.
Okay.
Let them be trained.
Well, maybe that's sending a warning out. So if you intend to do anything bad, these are the guys we're going to
That's the
send
sheriff.
after you. So watch out.
the new sheriff in town.
That's right.
Dr. the question still remains. I like you to, put in your own, a little bit of whatever it is you think is important as far as the welfare is concerned. You've talked about the fact that for every security challenge, we come up with a security unit. For cybercrime, we came up with cybercrime police. For financial crimes, we came up with financial crimes and all of that. But now we are talking about special weapons and tactics. But for me, in all of it, when you set up these units, they need to be trained. But in the process of training them, their welfare, their mindset is also very, very important, because that is what gave rise to the issues that, birthed this whole NSAS thing. But you will respond to that when we return from this break. All right, well, thanks for staying with us. So, Doc, this whole welfare thing, we start a unit, we think about what they're going to do, but how about their welfare, especially when their jobs are specialized? It's that welfare thing across all of the security architecture that gives me concern here, because we've had the same issues with soldiers in the Northeast who, also complained. So many of these people, especially the lower rung of the ladder. But now that we are training a whole new set of people to engage in SWAT, I'm concerned that if we do not take care of their welfare, their psychology is tilted ab initio, and we can't expect anything good from them.
Thank you. Most people quickly go to salary when we talk about welfare. But we are sitting right here, right now in the studio, and you can put banter, you can just enjoy yourself because of ambience. Because of ambience. If you sit in a place that is stuffy, hot, dirty, and shabby, your mind gets like that. And your responses gets like that. And somebody is like, what's wrong with him? Hey, nothing. He's where he is for like 3-4 hours. Okay? So, when you see people in buses on the road, clogged together as passengers, and you see people in cars, wound up with air conditioning, you listen to the wordings. Will you get out of the road? The other one says, what's wrong with you? Because of ambience. Go to a police station. Go to a police training institute. Look about the ambience. Look about the respect. Leave ambience. Let's look about respect. A police officer comes to a judiciary setting, like a court. He presents facts after investigation. After investigation, the next day, the culprit that was taken to maximum prison, correctional center right now, calls him on the phone. Shebi, you don't do your worst. Or he seems him walks on the road. Professional respect for what they go through to generate intelligence and evidence against a criminal. Evans the kidnapper is a story to tell. He has been arrested before, came out arrested before. Now, finally, with all his own brothers, he has arrested for millions of dollars. Are we looking for evidence, sir? He's still there. Look at Wadume.
He's been sentenced.
Yes. That sentence is, look at all of those cases. Now, when you look at respect for the officer, then you look at his concerns. What are his concerns? His family, his wife, his children. Are they on a health plan? Will he get a call that your son collapsed in school? And he will hear that, oh, he was taken by an ambulance to the hospital. We'll say, okay, I'll call you guys later. But when you hear that your son collapsed in school, there's nobody here. We are pouring him water. They are pouring water on his body. And he's engaging public against the backdrop of what Oga said, that he's not well paid. Then he's looking at that. Then he pays rent, because not all of them has opportunity to stay in the barracks. Even while serving in the army, not all soldiers have opportunity to stay in the barracks. So people pay rent while serving for public service. Then finally, before I disturb you so much, do you give him the right and appropriate training to meet the demands of his job, so that he doesn't meet a suspect and the suspect is asking him questions that make him look stupid? What kind of training, retraining, refresher courses to upgrade and meet the challenges of crime that is very dynamic globally?
It's that these are, you will agree with me that these are very, very probing, issues. But Mr. Jofo, the same question to you about the welfare of the police. I'm hoping that we will not get into the same trajectory that we have been before now, in ensuring that psychologically, emotionally, financially, and even nutritionally, the police are well taken care of from the point of their training, so that when they get into the streets, they are not doing the same thing that we accused SARS of doing, that is taking advantage of people.
You see, the problem is that the issue of welfare for the police and all the security agencies is not something that should be toyed with. I've said this times without number. Like my colleague there rightly said, you're not talking about welfare in terms of payment of salaries. You're talking of welfare in terms of training, attitudinal change of the police, civility to the members of the public. These are quite important. If you don't do this, the police needs to change its orientation to the people. It's the people's police. They must be police friendly. As I speak to you, I'm speaking from Owerri. The IG was there 2 days ago, and you can see I passed through the police headquarters. Before this time, what you would have seen is a situation where people would just block the road because the IG is coming. I think that orientation is changing. The people were allowed access even in front of the government house to pass through, and I say, well, we will get there one day. So what the police needs, and the police leadership, I believe what they need to do, in addition to the welfare of the people by providing accommodation, not just in terms of salary, providing schools for the children wherever they are. You know, the police job is a situation where today you are there, the homes are destabilized, and you bring up children that we are not even able to control. So there must be a way that the education of the children must be taken into consideration, the welfare of the wife, because most times you see broken homes in the police, in the armed forces. So there must be a way that you stabilize the family, because any person who is working is getting 1 million naira a month and doesn't have a stable home. It's not going to do well. It's not going to work well. So all these things will be packaged in terms of welfare. Talking about this SWAT and all this training, I don't think it's necessary. Let us have some element of surprise. Get them properly trained, equip them, reorient them, and let them be for the people. It should not be police against them or we against the police. It's our police. And they must be friendly. They must be taught, especially on the issue of handling of members of the public. They need to be friendly to get the confidence of the people. If you don't have the confidence of the people, there is no way people will cooperate with the police. And that brings me again to the issue of localization of the police and our security forces. If I have somebody from Medugri, for instance, is posted to Bayelsa, or somebody from Sokoto posted to Ogun State, first you have language barrier, you have cultural differences, you have religious differences, and you are not going to get the confidence of the people to talk to you, to say, yes, we can confide in you and give you information. It's when you post people to the southeast, especially from the north, the idea is that these people are coming here to make money and installing toll gates and checkpoints, collecting money. You cannot get the confidence. Police need to build that confidence first before you start talking. And there's no way you can build that confidence without taking care of their welfare. It's very, very important. Welfare training and salaries and all are very, very important.
Okay. Colonel, the IG has been talking about community policing, which is where I think Mr. Ejiofor was going. What are your thoughts about community policing? I mean, I grew up in Lagos, and I know that growing up, there was some kind of community policing, because the policemen in the neighborhood knew the people in the neighborhood. They interacted with the people. So this bringing it back more or less, what are your thoughts about that? And do you think it's going to be successful?
Well, thank you very much. I have been a very strong advocate of community policing. And not only community policing, even state policing. Let's decentralize. Who is afraid? What are people afraid of? Let's decentralize because the police is too centralized, and that's why we're having problem. You find a situation whereby a governor, you call a governor, let me start from the state. You call a governor a chief security officer. He cannot even talk to the commissioner of police. The commissioner of police has to take permission from Abuja. You know, you've had instances where there's been public altercations between the commissioner of police and the state governor.
If I can just quickly ask you so that this is a little more robust.
Yes, please.
At what point did we unilateralize or centralize the police? Because ab initio, just as Lawrence said, we began with that community level policing.
Yes.
At what point did we have to unify or centralize everything?
Well, if we look back, I think that came with the coup of the 1966, all right, and then the Civil War period, and then the creation of states. So since we came with the creation of states, so that's, you know, that I believe that was when this centralization of the police force, you know, started.
So why didn't we, when we had the Second Republic,
yes,
what do you think necessitated us not going back to that system? We used a decentralized system in the First Republic. Why didn't we bring it back with the Second Republic?
Well, unfortunately, I cannot answer that question.
Doc, maybe you want to try?
Yes.
But
in my opinion,
you are arresting my train of thought. You are not
I just wanted to understand that. We'll come back to you.
You know, we have this combative politics that we started following from the military regime, and those people that were locked up in Adeco and all those fights, they came out combative. So when you now become centralized as having the president in your party, the first thing to do is to manipulate all powers to yourself so that you'll be able to limit the influence of the opponent. So if you trace it back, you will see that the political democracy that we practiced, we did not put in restrictions for collating power and putting it in the center. Because it is gradual. Like she said, policemen used to play football with us when we were growing up. So it was gradual. So it is politics that wants to get power to oppress, that they started to use the mechanism of government to restrict power to the center.
So if we are to rewind that, if we were to retouch it, what would be your... Okay, let me come back to you now. So taking from that, if we are to, you know, rework it from what he has said, if you agree with him, what should we be doing?
Well, we are still discussing community policing.
Exactly.
Okay, let's decentralize. Let's, right from the top, let's have state police, and then let's come down to the local government level and have community policing. Okay? Community policing will be coordinated at the local government level. Mm-hmm. At the local government level, you have the chairman of the local government, you have the DPO there, okay? You have some other organs like the National Security and Civil Defense Corps, you have them right in the local government.
Some will say that's a long shot, Colonel, because even now, how active are the local government?
Well, you have to empower them. That's what we are talking about. We have to empower these institutions so that they can function, okay? And then you hold them accountable too, okay? We have to empower them, you know? So community policing is just the best way to go. That will really help us in addressing, you know, the incessant crime situation that we have in this country. Because, for example, you know, when you're talking about community policing, like it's practiced everywhere, you have streets. Okay, you don't just go and station, you know, police vehicles or a battalion or you know unit of policemen in a particular VIP's house. That shouldn't be it. Okay. You decentralize. You have policemen, you know, in the streets. Maybe at the beginning of a major street,
Colonel,
you have a police vehicle parked there.
We must wind down at this moment. So I must take your final word, Mr. Ejiofor. What is the way forward? In 30 seconds, please.
The way forward is that the constitution must be amended to accommodate state police. That's the only way to go. Otherwise, we'll be in a vicious circle.
Well, the way forward is that there must be rules set up to say you cannot do this. If a government official wants to twist the police to go against the mandate of the police, there must be someone from the Police Service Commission that can bring up a document and say, you cannot do this. And if a police officer wants to do that, we should have a desk that we go to and that we come up and say, sir, you cannot do this.
Colonel.
Yes, my final word here is we must look at the police reform holistically, okay? Not just limiting it to the SWAT that has come to replace the NSAR, the SARS, okay? The whole policing system needs a reform. We need to overhaul it. We need to inject, we need to rejig, inject life into it, look into their welfare, look into their training, and I'm sure it will really help our policing.
Okay.
Along the line.
A comment here from Samuel Akman, and he says, they said ATM wouldn't work in Nigeria. They also once said second billing wouldn't work in Nigeria. Both work successfully. Why don't they just allow state policing? Why the pessimism? It's selfish, really. Let's allow state police.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. We have been speaking with Mr. Mike Ejiofor. Well, we've had 3 security experts with us. Mr. Mike Ejiofor joined us virtually from Owerri. Colonel Yomi Dare was with us in Lagos, as well as Dr. Oamien Okideve. Thank you all very much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
The conversation continues.
Absolutely. And
And Sunrise will return in just a moment with another interesting conversation. Do stay with us.